I never thought I'd own my dream house at 32, but here I was standing in front of a beautiful historic New England home with a wraparound porch. My name is Alexa Harrison, and I've worked my ass off to get here. After working for 7 years as a senior financial analyst, I finally had enough saved for a substantial down payment. This is it, Noah, I said to my husband, squeezing his hand as we stood in the driveway. What do you think? Noah smiled, his brown eyes crinkling at the corners. It's perfect, babe. You did good. That's one of the things I loved about Noah. He was always supportive of my career and never seemed threatened by my success. When I told him I wanted to buy the house with my own money and put it in my name, he didn't even flinch. You earned it, he simply said. Besides, I'm saving up for our future kids' college funds. We're a team, right? I remember hugging him tight that day, thinking how lucky I was to have such an understanding partner. Most men I knew would have thrown a fit about their wife buying a house, but not Noah. He worked as an adjunct lecturer teaching literature, and while his salary wasn't anywhere near what I made, he was never jealous nor did he ever complain. The day we moved in, I couldn't stop smiling. The house was everything I dreamed of. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen, and a backyard perfect for future barbecues and kids' birthday parties. I'd made sure to put down enough money so the monthly mortgage payments wouldn't strain us too much. Being a financial analyst had taught me the importance of living within our means. You know what we should do? Noah said as we unpacked boxes in the kitchen. We should have dinner with my parents this weekend. They'll want to see pictures of the house. That's a great idea, I agreed, unwrapping our wedding china. We should visit my family too. That evening, as Noah and I sat on our new porch swing watching the sunset, everything seemed perfect. We talked about our plans for the house, how we'd decorate each room, where we'd plant a garden in spring, which bedroom would become the nursery when we started our family, among others. Later that night, as I lay in bed listening to Noah's steady breathing beside me, I felt completely at peace. I'd achieved my dream of owning a beautiful home. I had a loving husband, and our future seemed bright with possibility. I drifted off to sleep thinking about how perfect everything was. That first dinner with Noah's parents was supposed to be a simple celebration of our new home. Evelyn and Harold had always been kind to me, treating me like their own daughter since Noah and I started dating. They lived in a dignified colonial house, and Evelyn had prepared her famous pot roast for the occasion. So tell us all about the house, Evelyn exclaimed as she passed the potatoes. Her silver hair was pulled back in its usual bun, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I opened my mouth to answer, but Noah beat me to it. Actually, I wanted to surprise you guys, he said, his voice filled with pride. I bought us this amazing house, 4 bedrooms, beautiful backyard. And I've been offered a promotion to become the associate professor. I nearly choked on my water. Noah squeezed my hand under the table, his eyes pleading with me to stay quiet. I felt my chest tighten, but I forced a smile and stayed silent. Oh, Noah. Evelyn clasped her hands together. That's wonderful. Isn't it wonderful, Harold? Harold beamed at his son. That's my boy. Always knew you'd follow in our footsteps. The Harrison academic legacy continues. He turned to me. You've got yourself quite an accomplished husband here, Alexa. I nodded mechanically, pushing food around my plate. The pot roast that had smelled so delicious minutes ago now felt like lead in my stomach. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of lies. Noah describing how he'd saved up for the down payment, his parents praising his academic achievements, and me sitting there feeling like I was in some bizarre alternate reality. The drive home was silent until we pulled into our driveway that my money had bought. What the hell was that? I demanded as soon as we got inside. Noah ran his hands through his dark hair, a nervous habit I'd noticed early in our relationship. I'm sorry, Alexa. You know my dad. He's all about academic prestige. He'd never understand a man living in a house his wife bought. You're standing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Please, Alexa, he begged. Can we just let people think I bought the house? It doesn't hurt anyone. I shook my head, thinking how childish this whole thing was, but looking at his pleading face, I didn't have the heart to argue. Fine, I sighed. Whatever makes you happy. A week later, we were sitting in my parents' living room, and history repeated itself. My mom and dad were there, along with my younger sister Brittany, who was visiting from her apartment downtown. Brittany and I had always been different as night and day. While I was the practical one who went into finance, she was the creative spirit who pursued graphic design, floating from project to project. We bought a house. Noah announced proudly. I've always wanted to give Alexa the home she deserves. I watched my family's reactions like I was watching a movie. My parents were beaming, congratulating Noah on his success, but it was Brittany's face that caught my attention. She smiled and offered her congratulations, but I knew my sister too well to miss the flash of jealousy in her eyes. She'd always wanted the perfect house, the perfect life, and here I was, living her dream. Or so she thought. 2 weeks after the family dinners, I threw a housewarming party. I'd spent days preparing everything, setting up the new furniture, hanging artwork, and making sure every room looked perfect. The house was filled with the smell of appetizers and the sound of laughter as our friends and family arrived. Let me give you the grand tour, Noah announced to the group, puffing out his chest like a proud peacock. Wait until you see the antique writing desk I picked out for the study. I almost snorted into my wine glass. The study he was so proud of? I'd chosen every bookshelf, every piece of furniture, and even that vintage lamp he loved to show off. But there he was, leading our guests from room to room, talking about his academic vision for the house and how his publishing advance had helped afford it all. The party was a success, and life settled into a comfortable routine. Noah and I both worked during the day, came home to our beautiful house in the evening, and spent weekends making it more and more like home. Everything was perfect until exactly 6 months after the housewarming party. I was enjoying a quiet Sunday afternoon when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Brittany standing there, her mascara running down her cheeks and her shoulders shaking with sobs. Brittany, what's wrong? I pulled her inside, genuinely concerned. My sister wasn't the type to cry easily. I lost my biggest client, she choked out, collapsing onto her couch. They're suing me for copyright infringement on my designs and my rent. She dissolved into fresh tears. I sat beside her, rubbing her back like I used to when we were kids and she'd had a nightmare. How bad is it? I can't afford my apartment anymore, Alexa. I need a place to stay. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes we both inherited from our mom. Can I stay here? Just until I figure something out? I hesitated. What about Mom and Dad's place? They have that spare room. Their house is on the other side of town, Brittany protested, wiping her eyes. It would take me forever to get to my remaining clients from there. Your place is perfect, it's close to everything. And you have all these empty bedrooms. I don't know, Brittany. Let me think about it. She nodded reluctantly, and I promised to call her later. Not 10 minutes after she left, my phone rang. It was Mom. Alexa, your sister just called me crying, she said without preamble. You have to let her stay with you. She's family. That evening, I discussed it with Noah over dinner. Brittany needs a place to stay, I explained, pushing my pasta around my plate. She's in a tough spot with her design business. She should stay with us, Noah said immediately. We have the room, and she's family. It'll be fun having her around. I looked at him in surprise. Noah had always gotten along well with Brittany, but I hadn't expected him to be so enthusiastic about having her as our house guest. A few days later, Brittany moved in. I helped her set up in one of the spare bedrooms, the one with the best morning light that I had been planning to turn into a home office. The first few weeks weren't bad at all. In fact, they were surprisingly pleasant. I'd come home from a long day at the investment firm to find dinner on the table, not just takeout or simple pasta, but real home-cooked meals. The house was spotless, laundry was always done, and Brittany seemed genuinely happy to help. But then things started to change. It was subtle at first, so subtle that I wondered if I was imagining it. Here's your coffee, Noah, Brittany would say at breakfast, setting down his mug with a flourish. Black with just a hint of sugar. Exactly how you like it. Alexa always makes it too sweet, doesn't she? Or she'd be folding laundry and comment. I noticed your shirts were always wrinkled before, Noah. A little extra care makes such a difference, don't you think? I tried to ignore it, but the constant comparisons were getting under my skin. One evening, after a particularly pointed comment about how she'd finally gotten the kitchen properly organized, I pulled her aside. "Brittany, can we talk?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "These comments are—" She looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "What comments?" "About being a better hostess. About how much better the house is since you moved in." Brittany laughed, waving her hand dismissively. "Oh my God, Alexa, you're being so sensitive. I'm just joking around. Don't tell me you're jealous of your little sister doing some housework." But it wasn't just the comments. 2 weeks later, I came home from work to find Brittany in the kitchen wearing what could barely be called clothing: a sheer tank top and tiny shorts that left little to the imagination. Noah was sitting at the counter, ostensibly working on his manuscript, but his eyes kept drifting up. "Brittany!" I hissed, pulling her into the hallway. "What are you wearing?" "It's hot in here," she protested, but her smirk said otherwise. "Go change. Now." She rolled her eyes but complied, switching into her regular loungewear. Later that night, as Noah and I were getting ready for bed, he brought it up. "Don't you think you were a bit harsh with Brittany earlier?" he asked, climbing into bed. "She's just comfortable around family." I stared at him. "She was practically naked." "You're exaggerating. Besides, it's her home too now." His words hit me like a slap. "Her home? When did that happen?" The next morning, I confronted Brittany over breakfast. "Have you started looking for apartments yet?" I asked directly. Her face crumpled immediately. "Alexa, I'm trying, but I can barely save anything with this lawsuit hanging over me. Everything's so expensive." "She doesn't have to move," Noah interrupted, not looking up from his phone. "We've got plenty of room, and it's nice having her here. The three of us work well together." I looked between my husband and my sister, him casually defending her presence in my house, her with that subtle smile playing at the corners of her mouth, and felt a chill run down my spine. The Stevenson presentation was huge, potentially the biggest financial analysis of my career. When Malcolm told me I needed to fly to New York to meet with them personally, I knew it was important to nail this. "I'll be gone for 3 days," I told Noah and Brittany over dinner the night before my flight. "The presentation might take a while." The meetings in New York went better than I could have imagined. The executives were impressed with my analysis and agreed to all our recommended investment strategies without the usual pushback I'd expected. By the end of the second day, we were signing papers. "You've got quite a future ahead of you, Mrs. Harrison," the CEO said as we shook hands. "Your firm is lucky to have you." I called the airline and managed to get an earlier flight home. Wouldn't Noah be proud? This deal would mean a significant bonus, maybe enough to pay off a big chunk of the mortgage early. The taxi dropped me off at our house around 8 p.m. The lights were on upstairs, and I could see Noah's car in the driveway. I smiled, thinking about surprising them with the good news. I unlocked the front door quietly, my heels clicking softly on the hardwood floors. There were wine glasses on the coffee table, 2 of them, and something that looked like Brittany's silk scarf draped over the banister. My stomach lurched as I climbed the stairs. I could hear music playing faintly from our bedroom, and soft voices. I pushed open the door. Time seemed to stop. The scene before me burned itself into my brain. Noah and Brittany, in our bed, tangled in the sheets I'd picked out when we first moved in. They didn't notice me at first, too wrapped up in each other. Then Brittany saw me and smiled. Actually smiled. "Alexa." Noah scrambled to cover himself. This isn't. I can explain." Brittany stretched lazily and got up, not bothering to cover herself. "Oh, don't bother explaining, Noah." She started collecting her clothes from the floor. She was bound to find out eventually. I stood frozen in the doorway, my hands shaking. "How long?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "A few weeks now," Brittany said casually, pulling on her clothes. "We're in love, aren't we, Noah?" He appreciates someone who understands his intellectual passion. Noah looked like he might be sick. "Oh, and there's one more thing," Brittany added, her hand drifting to her stomach. "I'm pregnant. Found out a few days ago. We wanted intellectual children." Noah's head snapped up, his face going pale. Clearly, this was news to him too. Get out, I whispered, then louder. Both of you, get out of my house. Brittany laughed. Actually laughed. Your house? Oh, honey, I think you're confused. She turned to me with a vicious smile. This is Noah's house. He bought it, remember? You have 1 hour to pack your things and leave. I stood there, staring at my sister as the reality of the situation hit me. She had believed the lie all this time. She thought she was stealing a cultured academic in his house. She had no idea that everything, every single thing around us, was mine. As the realization dawned upon me, I started laughing. I just couldn't help it. The sound bubbled up from somewhere deep inside me, slightly hysterical but unstoppable. Brittany's face twisted in confusion. What's so funny? You're being kicked out of your home and you're laughing. I wiped tears from my eyes, still chuckling. Oh, Brittany. Sweet, delusional Brittany. This house, the one you think you're going to live in with my cheating husband? It's mine. Every brick, every tile, every piece of furniture. I bought it all. You're lying, Brittany spat, but I could see uncertainty creeping into her eyes. The Audi Noah drives? Also mine. I bought it last year because he said his old car wasn't professional enough for a lecturer. I turned to Noah. Tell her the truth, Noah. Noah seemed to shrink under Brittany's fierce gaze. It's true, he mumbled, staring at the floor. Everything belongs to Alexa. I just told everyone I bought it because I wanted to look successful in academic circles. Brittany's face was drained of color. She grabbed one of our decorative pillows, the ones I'd spent hours picking out, and started hitting Noah with it. You liar. You pathetic, worthless liar. You're not even a real professor. Both of you, stop, I said, my voice cutting through Brittany's screams and Noah's attempts to defend himself. I'm done with this circus. You have 1 hour to pack your things and get out of my house. But, Alexa and Noah started. Don't worry about the divorce papers, I interrupted. I'll have them sent to your parents' house. Brittany's demeanor changed instantly. The rage disappeared, replaced by that manipulative sweetness I'd grown so familiar with. Alexa, you can't kick me out. I'm your sister, your pregnant sister. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. I checked my watch. 55 minutes left. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police. I turned and walked downstairs to the kitchen, leaving them scrambling to gather their things. My hands were steady as I made myself a coffee with a fancy machine I'd bought last Christmas. I sat at the kitchen island, sipping slowly, listening to the chaos upstairs. My phone rang 10 minutes later. Mom's name flashed on the screen. How dare you? She screeched before I could even say hello. Kicking your pregnant sister out onto the street. What kind of monster are you? She seduced my husband, I said flatly. They've been having an affair for weeks, and when I caught them, she tried to kick me out of my house. There was a brief silence then. Well, maybe you should let them have the house. You're successful. You can afford to rent an apartment. Brittany's pregnant now. She needs stability. It would be the kind thing to do. Letting them have the house. I sat there, stunned by my mother's words. I don't want to have this conversation, I said, my voice ice cold. In fact, I don't want to talk to you at all right now. I hung up before she could respond, staring at my reflection in the dark window. I barely recognized myself, but maybe that was a good thing. Maybe it was time to become someone new, someone stronger. The hour passed, both quickly and painfully slowly. Doors slammed, drawers banged, and occasional sobs, Brittany's, I assumed, echoed through the house. Finally, they appeared at the bottom of the stairs, each carrying bags. Brittany's mascara was streaked down her face, but her eyes were hard when she looked at me. You'll regret this, she spat venomously. You think you're so perfect with your big house and your fancy job. You'll end up alone and miserable. I didn't even bother responding. There was nothing left to say. I watched from the window as they loaded their bags into Brittany's beat-up Prius. As they drove away, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I immediately turned off my phone, knowing what was coming. The calls, the texts, the family drama. I couldn't deal with any of it then. When morning came, I turned my phone back on, wincing at the flood of notifications: 37 missed calls, 62 text messages, voicemails from both sets of parents, from Brittany, from Noah. I ignored them all and dialed my lawyer's number instead. Vivian, it's Alexa Harrison. I need to file for divorce. Vivian, bless her, didn't ask for details. Come by the office at 11 o'clock. We'll get started. I called into work, explaining I needed time off for personal issues. My boss was understanding. The Stevenson presentation had put me in his good graces. I spent 2 hours with Vivian going over the details of the divorce filing, then headed home. I was fumbling with my keys at the front door when I heard voices behind me. I turned to find both sets of parents standing in my driveway. My parents looked furious, while Evelyn was crying, and Harold's face was red with anger. How dare you throw them out? Mom demanded as they followed me inside. Your own sister. Your husband. You can't just kick a man out of his own house, Harold added. The house he bought with his academic achievements. I'd had enough. I walked to my home office, pulled out the folder of house documents I kept there, and returned to the living room. Actually, I said, spreading the papers on the coffee table, let me show you something interesting. They gathered around as I pointed to the documents. Look at the buyer's name. Look at where the down payment came from. Look at who's on the mortgage. This house, every penny came from me. The car Noah drives? Also mine. He didn't pay for any of it. But he said, he was offered tenure. Evelyn stammered. He lied, I said simply. He told everyone he bought the house because he was too insecure to admit his wife was the breadwinner. He's been living off my success while pretending it was his own. That lying little academic fraud. Harold exploded, his face turning even redder. I raised him to uphold intellectual integrity. After Noah's parents left, my parents lingered. The documents were still spread across my coffee table, irrefutable proof of my ownership, but somehow, that didn't matter to them. Alexa, you need to be reasonable about this, Dad said, using his principal's voice that I remembered from childhood arguments. They're starting a family. A family? I laughed bitterly. You mean my cheating husband and my backstabbing sister's baby? Don't be cruel, Mom snapped. That's your niece or nephew you're talking about. Think about the child's future. I stood up, my patience finally exhausted. Let me get this straight. My sister slept with my husband, tried to steal my house, and I'm supposed to just hand over everything I've worked for. You've always been selfish, Mom said, her voice trembling. Always thinking about yourself. When you were little, you never shared your educational opportunities with Brittany. This isn't about opportunities, Mom. This is my life, my home, my marriage they destroyed. If you don't help your sister, Dad interjected. If you don't share what you have, we'll have no choice but to cut ties with you. I walked to the front door and opened it. Get out. They left, Mom's final words ringing in my ears. You'll regret dismissing your own family. I slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. The divorce proceedings moved with surprising efficiency. Despite Brittany's relentless prodding, Noah never attempted to claim any of the property. He knew better. He'd seen all the documentation, knew every asset was in my name. Fighting would just mean wasting money he didn't have on lawyer fees he couldn't afford. I threw myself into my work, taking on more clients and closing bigger deals. The New York presentation was just the beginning. I redecorated the house, erasing every trace of them. New furniture, new paint, new everything. The study where I'd found them became my home office. I couldn't sleep there anyway. The memory of their betrayal still fresh in my mind. Through my social media accounts, before I blocked them all, I watched their story unfold like a pretentious academic drama. They got married in a small ceremony at my parents' house. Brittany posted endless updates about her pregnancy, playing the role of the intellectual mother-to-be. She never missed a chance to paint herself as the victim, dropping comments about intellectually incompatible family members and a career-obsessed cis who abandoned her pregnant sibling. The latest update, shared by a colleague who still followed her, showed Brittany and Noah squeezed into my childhood bedroom at my parents' house. The caption read, "Creating our intellectual haven while materialistic people live in empty luxury. But we have authentic connection, and that's what matters." I closed the tab without reading the comments. Let them play happy family in their borrowed bedroom. Let my parents coddle them and pretend their precious Brittany did nothing wrong. Let them all live in their bubble of academic delusion. Me? I'm doing just fine. My house is peaceful now, filled with only my things, my choices, and my life. Sometimes silence is better than toxic company, and sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you need to keep.